Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Williamsburg City Council meeting of May 8th. It's good to see such a lively group here today. Ms. McKay, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Williams.
Here.
Ms. Ramsey.
Here.
Mayor Pons.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Here.
Ms. Kernshire.
Here.
Thank you. Glad you all showed up and didn't decide not to come. We have some minutes in our packet for April 7th and April 10th. Is there any changes, corrections, or motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes from April.
Second.
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
Mayor Pons.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Kernshire.
Aye.
Okay, today we have matters of special privilege, which is always a fun time for us, and this time we have our 2025 Business Appreciation Award. Ms. Matsumoto.
Thank you, thank you. Annually, the Economic Development Authority recognizes a City of Williamsburg business that demonstrates outstanding commitment to making the City of Williamsburg a better place to live, work, and visit. To qualify, a business must be physically located in the city, have operated for more than 5 years, and show meaningful contributions to community-oriented initiatives. At its April meeting, the EDA unanimously selected Orange Theory Fitness as the recipient of this year's Business Appreciation Award. Orange Theory opened its doors in 2017 and is a locally owned, disabled, veteran-owned, and woman-owned business. The studio fosters a welcoming, results-driven environment for individuals at all fitness levels. Within 30 days of opening, the studio reached 500 members, an achievement matched by only a few studios nationwide. And they sustained a strong engagement with their membership through the COVID-19 pandemic. The business also maintains strong community connections, donating more than $60,000 to local and national nonprofits, supporting small businesses, and partnering with area schools and events. Orange Theory Fitness Williamsburg stands out as more than a fitness studio. It is a valued community partner and a model of resilience, innovation, and service. And we have a short video that we are going to show now.
I'm Scott Walton. My wife Tammy and I are the owners and operators of Orange Theory Fitness here in Williamsburg, Virginia. My wife and I started this location 8 years ago, and we're so happy to be here in the Williamsburg community.
Orange Theory Fitness is different and distinct from other fitness modalities because it is so scalable. So someone who's never worked out in their life could work out next to someone who is a former college or even professional athlete.
We are always trying to make sure that people feel seen and people feel like they belong here. Sometimes it's really intimidating when they go to a gym, and we want to make sure that when they come in the door for their 1 hour workout, that it is a 1 hour that they get to spend for them.
We have everything from college students to retirees to active duty military, and everybody in between, and everybody adds to our community through their diversity.
The culture and the camaraderie that we have between the front desk and the staff and the members is electric.
If you want to come in and you want to take it light, you can do that. If you want to come in and go as hard as you can do that as well. And we have all different fitness levels, so we try and make it easy and accessible for everybody.
Winning this award means so much to us personally. We have many members that have been members ever since day one, and 8 years later they're just improving each and every day, and that makes us proud.
About a year ago, we have a member who is over 70 years old, and the last time that she ran a mile unbroken was when she was in high school. And during that class, the energy in the room inspired her to run nonstop for a mile straight, and she was in tears at the end of that mile. And I think that really represents what our culture and camaraderie is all about.
The hardest thing to do in the workout is not necessarily the workout. The hardest thing to do is come through the front door. So I like to joke that the heaviest weight here is that front door. Once you open that front door, we have a community, we have a coaching staff, we have employees that will build you up and make you better each and every day.
So, David Scott, come on up. So, a little bit of personal take on this. I do work out at Orange Theory. I'm one of the moderate athletes, unlike Ms. Ramsey, who is a full-fledged animal in there. She's even got her orange on today to celebrate Orange Theory. From my own personal experience, it is a great place to work out. Your team there is phenomenal. The energy in there is outstanding, and it's a place you want to be. And treatment. So if you haven't tried it, don't be fearful of it, because it really is for people of all different ages and skill levels. So with that, we do have a little trophy here, or plaque, or whatever we want to call it, we would like to present you all. Thank you. You're welcome. And would you like to say a few words?
It's nice to be back here in the community. I was a 1997 graduate, William Mary, and we did 20 years in the military all around the country. It was nice to come back to Williamsburg, start the business. We opened a couple days after I retired, and great place to retire. So thanks to the community. Thanks for the support, and appreciate it.
Yeah. So just stand up here and get a picture real quick. Okay, so we have no public hearings, which takes us to reports, and first is the monthly financial statements. Ms. Dameron? Welcome, and I've been asked to remind people to try to speak into the microphone so that everybody can hear.
Okay, I'll try to speak up.
Thank you.
I'm going to begin the report with a review of some of our revenues. The real estate tax revenue year-to-date is at 56% of budget, which is where I would expect it to be right before second half collections, which are due June 1st. Our personal property tax revenue is at 99% of budget. We will continue to collect toward that and hopefully get that at 100% by June 30th. And then our business property tax revenue is at 105% of budget. So we've already exceeded our budget on that revenue stream. And then our room tax, we're at 69% of budget at the end of April, which includes March activity. Year-to-date, it's decreased 17% compared to April of '24, and or for the month, for the month, it decreased compared to activity for March. Year-to-date, it's running 1% under where we were year-to-date in '24 at this time. And then for our meals tax, we're at 73% of the budget. Our year-to-date revenue shows an increase of 3.6% compared to last year. And for the month of April, or activity in March, we increased almost 5%. Now, collectively for the first quarter of '25, we are showing a decrease of 3.8, and that's because our January and February was down, but we picked back up in the activity for March. And then our sales tax revenue right now, year-to-date, FY25 is about level with where we were in '24. And for that first quarter, if we look at just the first quarter of '25, we are also about level with where we were in '24. And then our $2 lodging tax, year-to-date, is about level with FY24. Our activity for the first quarter of 2025 is showing a decrease of about 16% compared to the first quarter of '24. So we'll continue to monitor that moving forward. And then our historic sales tax year-to-date is showing a decrease of about 2.4% compared to last year. Here's my busy graphs again. And what they're showing is we're showing where we were with business, professional, and occupational licenses in FY29, which was before the pandemic. And we are not showing 21 and 22 because those were very irregular. We're picking up with 23 through 25. The red line is where we are on each one of these year-to-date for 25. I am showing the other years out to the end of the year, so you get an idea of, how level or not level those revenues come in. And you can see in a couple of, particularly with our professional, and in 23, it was a big pickup toward the end of the year. But with our contracting revenue, we actually have exceeded the budget. We're at 102% of budget. And you can see that for 25, we are reporting higher than we did in 19, 20, and 23. We're a little below where we were in 24. And then with our professional license, we're at 73% of budget. And again, we're running a little bit behind where we were in 24, and you see that pickup in 19, and we're also behind that, but we're leading ahead of where we were for 23 and at this point in time for 19. On our retail sales, we're at 86% of budget, and on our repair and personal business, we are running at 87% of budget. So if you look at this collectively, which I have on the next slide, we have a budget of about $3,050,000. We're running collectively at this point about $283,000 below budget. So we'll continue to monitor that between now and the end of the year. It's a little unpredictable, so I would expect to come in under budget, but it could be anywhere from where we are right now today to say maybe 80,000 or so. I will note on here, if you add up the numbers that I had on the previous slide, you'll be just slightly off on my actual, and that's because we did not show wholesale, and that's because it's a relatively small revenue, but I am presenting that in this slide. And the other thing that I'll mention, I don't have a slide for, is in regards to our utility fund, that it is running in line both with revenues and expenditure, in line with budget. So it's performing well right now. And I will just mention that I have continued to include the annual revenues for prior years with our other local taxes on this slide, as well as our property tax revenues, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you, Ms. Dameron. I really appreciate how your charting has become more illustrative over the last few months. I think it's very helpful for us to see it in that manner. I guess my comment would be, it's unfortunate we had such bad weather at January, February, and I know that was hurtful on our businesses. But I heard the other day that I know we had the last 3 weeks on the Smith travel reports have all indicated an increase, and so hopefully, I think the fourth week in that report should come out any day now, and so hopefully we'll see, some rebounding of those numbers so that we can get to close to 2024, which was a great year. So thank you for that, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, no questions. Just thank you again for the charts and graphs. It makes it much easier to follow along and to see the numbers.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. No questions?
Thank you, also no questions.
Thank you, Ms. Dameron. Okay, Mr. City Manager, is anybody doing a report today?
So we've got Economic Development's going to talk about small businesses.
All right. Very fitting. Welcome, Ms. Matsumoto.
Thank you, and hello again. Good afternoon, Mayor Pons and members of City Council. I'm excited to be here today to talk about small business support services offered by the Department of Economic Development and Tourism. So for more than 60 years, May has been celebrated as National Small Business Month, and there are several ways that we celebrate our small businesses during this month, including the EDA's annual Business Appreciation Award. And so, in honor of Small Business Month, I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about business retention. Economic development is often divided into two main categories, which would be business recruitment and business retention. While recruitment often gets the spotlight because of things like ribbon cuttings and grand openings and big announcements, the real engine of economic growth is our existing business community. One of the first lessons that we're taught in the field of economic development as we're coming up in the field is that approximately 80% of your community's economic growth is going to come from your existing business community. These businesses are already in your community. They're the ones creating jobs, investing in their properties, supporting local causes, and contributing to the identity and vibrancy of the city. And so, what is business retention? At its core, business retention is about building relationships with local businesses, understanding their challenges, and finding ways to meet their needs. It's all about fostering an environment where our businesses can learn and grow and thrive, whether that means navigating city processes or connecting them to resources or simply being a sounding board. Business retention is about showing Williamsburg businesses that they're valued here. And so what does that look like in the city of Williamsburg? We offer an array of support services, including business retention and expansion visits, which are one-on-one confidential meetings that we offer to the business community that gives us a chance to connect one-on-one with business owners and tailor our support services around what their individual business needs are. These visits, along with our annual business retention and expansion surveys, help to inform staff and the Economic Development Authority of trends being seen and experienced by our local business community. The EDA offers a suite of grant programs administered by my team. Our current suite of matching grants include support for exterior improvements, website enhancement and search engine optimization, creation of a Google interior virtual tour, and even a grant program that provides bike racks. We work with business owners and entrepreneurs of all levels and have a wealth of partner resources that we can refer our businesses to depending on what their needs are. Whether it's a connection to the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, the Chamber, our regional economic development partners at the Hampton Roads Alliance, or our regional business incubator Launchpad, we have the resources and connections to help our businesses succeed. And so we say that we are the business concierge of Williamsburg. When someone gets a business license, they also receive a letter from my office welcoming them to Williamsburg and sharing all of the different grants and programs and resources that we offer to them. This effort helps to create a point of connection and helps strengthen our role as the liaison between the city of Williamsburg and its business community. And finally, so much of business retention work centers around problem solving. So next, I'm going to be taking us through a little case study about some issues that we heard from businesses and ways that we have gone about creating a solution. And so last spring, the EDA's BRE survey responses started to reveal a very clear trend, which was that businesses were struggling to grow due to workforce shortages. The most commonly cited gaps weren't technical skills, they were customer service and basic life skills. Over the summer, we began developing a tailored training program to address this issue by partnering with our Human Services Department to design a training series focused on employee development. But as we dug deeper into the issue, we realized something important. These individuals who needed the training the most weren't being hired and therefore weren't reachable through our typical communication channels like our e-newsletter that goes out to our businesses. That led us to a bigger question, which was how do we reach these potential employees before they enter the workforce and thereby strengthen the talent pipeline for our local businesses? Throughout the fall, we worked to refine our strategy and explore other solutions, and this spring we're excited to be collaborating with regional partners to bring a new program to life. This was our breakthrough. There was a change in state legislation last summer that expanded eligibility for the Fast Forward program, which is a workforce training initiative that subsidizes certifications for in-demand industries. Historically, the only allowed industries under that program were things like healthcare and information technology and skilled trades. But for the first time, as of last summer, tourism and hospitality is now included. This means that any Virginian can have 2/3 or even up to 100% of their tuition costs covered for a hospitality training through a Virginia community college. Our partners at Virginia Peninsula Community College are eager to respond, and so in March we convened with VPCC, the Chamber, and our counterparts at James City County and York County to explore what a local tourism and hospitality certification training program could look like. The consensus was clear in that meeting. The need is widespread across the region. Since then, we've co-developed a regional survey to gather business input, which we will be launching this week and is going to run through the end of the month. We're also planning an in-person feedback session and exploring internship partnerships to give participants hands-on experience during their training. This effort is the result of many months of listening, collaborating, and problem solving, and I really couldn't be more excited to see where it's heading. Another key way that we connect with our small business community is through our quarterly business roundtable series. So these sessions focus on standing topics like the annual economic outlook, major city project updates, and the state of local tourism. Next week, we're excited to host our annual Small Business Spotlight, which is going to be taking place across the street at the community building on Tuesday at noon in celebration of Small Business Month. And so each year, we invite 5 entrepreneurs who opened their doors in the past year to participate in a panel discussion, sharing with us who they are, what they do, and why they chose Williamsburg to open their business. The lineup of this year's speakers are the Rochambeau Roadside Inn, which is a boutique inn created through the thoughtful renovation of a formal motel property. Whole, which is a specialty eatery offering artisan breads and a chef-driven menu. Backyard Birder, which is a bird seed and supply store that is now under new ownership. And Soleil, a leadership development firm offering executive coaching and training designed to help individuals and teams grow with purpose. And finally, Pure Elegance Salon, which is a new salon and spa known for its expert braiding services. These businesses reflect the diversity, creativity, and entrepreneurial spirit of our local economy, and we're proud to celebrate them as part of Small Business Month. Registration is still open until noon tomorrow, so if anyone would like to register, head on over to yeswilliamsburg.com/roundtable for the registration link. And so while tourism and hospitality are central to our economy, it's important to note that over 20% of the business licenses in Williamsburg are actually held by home-based businesses, an often overlooked but vital part of our small business community. To support this segment, we partnered more than a decade ago with other peninsula localities to launch a regional home-based business program offering monthly lunch and learns and an annual resource fair and conference. The focus of both has always been helping home-based businesses grow with special attention to businesses that are looking to expand and grow into a commercial brick and mortar space. As the program gained momentum, we rebranded as the Peninsula Home-Based Business Network, and it's now managed by our partners at the Hampton Road Small Business Development Center, with continued support from local economic development staff. The virtual Lunch and Learn series continues on the third Thursday of each month, and the annual conference is scheduled for November 6th of this year. This program really does continue to be a great example of regional collaboration and targeted support. The pandemic brought with it significant challenges, but also plenty of opportunity to reassess, adapt, and refocus our efforts. Pre-pandemic, our team was assisting an average of 10 existing businesses and 5 prospective businesses each month. And since then, we've restructured the department, integrated new programs and software, and refined our workflow. As a result, we have significantly expanded our reach, and I'm proud to say that we now support an average of 35 existing businesses and connect with an average of 14 prospective businesses each month on average. For a team of 3, that's a substantial increase and a testament to our staff's dedication, efficiency, and commitment. While our capacity has limits, I'm incredibly proud of the very real and measurable impacts that these numbers represent for our community, and I'm especially grateful to Tourism Division Manager Joanna Scribala and Administrative Coordinator Sarah Seward for the passion and grit and enthusiasm that they bring to work every day as we support our local businesses. And before I wrap up, I wanted to take a moment to highlight the impact of the EDA's discretionary incentive program, which is used to aid and incentivize businesses that are looking to locate in Williamsburg. This incentive program operates by closing a funding gap in the capital that a business needs to hit the finish line and open their doors. Our EDA does not offer cash upfront grants. Instead, they offer revenue sharing on new tax dollars that the new businesses will bring in, meaning that the businesses cannot receive funds until after they open their doors. The award is performance-based, meaning that the business must meet their own projected annual revenue goals in order to receive the full incentive that they were awarded by either the EDA or City Council. The performance-based incentives are administered on a quarterly basis, sharing back with the businesses a portion of the taxes that they've collected from their customers. Generally, we use those tourism taxes such as sales, meals, and lodging. Together, the EDA and City Council have awarded 12 total packages, securing 279 new full-time jobs for the city and $12.9 million in private capital investment. 6 of those businesses have graduated from the program, and 6 of the packages are still underway. When looking at these applications, we assess how much the businesses will be bringing in new tax dollars to the city each year before determining how much the city can reasonably give back to the business in the form of an incentive. Knowing that after the time frame ends for the incentive, that the city will be able to retain 100% of those taxes. Looking at the middle section here, right in there, we anticipated that if the businesses were awarded that total of $1,050,000 in incentives, the city would retain approximately $4.7 million, more than 77% of the total new tax dollars brought in by these incentivized businesses. And then looking over on the right-hand side at the actual fiscal impact, so far these 12 incentivized businesses have generated $2.26 million in new taxes, $615,000 of which has gone back to the businesses that collected them. And so since 2017, when the program began, the City of Williamsburg has retained more than $1.6 million in new taxes that would not have been generated if not for this program. And with that, I wish you all a happy Small Business Month, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate all the work that you do, and Joanna and Sarah appreciate all the extra efforts that you put into really assisting our businesses. You know, I think it's a true reflection of how we value business in the city. We see that we're in this as partners, so to speak, and you know, we certainly have a whole suite of opportunities to assist and help businesses, you know, just in working with trying to develop and cultivate employees. So I'm really appreciative of that, and look forward to, you know, some of the businesses that may be in the room, you know, reaching out for some assistance. I'm glad you brought up the pandemic. I'm reminded that it was the city, I think, was one of the highest in the region for helping and assisting with real dollars to our businesses. And so thank you for all that effort. And I think as a result, we didn't have any businesses closed during the pandemic. A lot of them, most of them probably struggled, there's no question, but we did all we could to try to make sure that we maintain that business space here in the city. So thank you for those efforts, and thank you for the report. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. There's a lot of great information in there and a lot of good reminders for all of us. And thanks to Sarah and Joanna as well for the work that they do. I think what I like, I'm glad that you pointed out that a lot of times the focus is on recruiting business, but we want to retain the businesses that we have. So to increase the efforts in reaching out to our existing businesses is incredible, and great work. I mean, the numbers have increased dramatically, so really excited to see that. Is there a, how do you reach, I mean, if you offer things to different businesses, existing businesses, and you don't get a response, do you continually reach out, or you wait for the business to contact you?
For specific programs, or?
Yeah, for any assistance, anything that you may offer. I mean, if you haven't heard from a business in a while, do you reach out to them to see if you can help in any way?
Yeah, so we try to reach each of our businesses at least once a year. So the EDA has a quarterly work plan that we work through alongside them. So the first quarter of each month, we go into closed session and talk about all of the prospects that we're working with and that we have in our pipeline at any given moment. And then that second quarter of the month is focused on business retention. So whichever sector of the city, so if it's downtown or midtown, Upper Richmond Road, Edge District, Quarter Path, we have them all segmented out in a CRM system, and so we can click a button, reach all of those businesses, send them a survey. In that survey, we ask questions around how's business going? Are you seeing your revenues increase? Are they declining? Fortunately, the respondents that have been answering so far, none responded last year and said that their revenues had declined year over year total. Which was an exciting thing to see. I will say we don't always have fantastic response rates to our surveys, and we can see when we email how many people open the emails, and I mean, I'm the same. I get flooded with emails every day, and so we try to be as consistent and persistent as possible, but of the 807 or so businesses that are in the city, I can't exactly say that I hit each of them every year, but we certainly do our best.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. It was definitely a lot of information and really helpful. And I think that what I step back and hear, and what I really appreciate through this, particularly with the focus on retention, is seeing how the city staff, you're all working so hard, I really appreciate it, and the business community, also working very hard, really appreciate it, how much, we need each other. And to be able to, make sure that we're communicating to the business community that we have like services and help financially and otherwise, and to understand that. And so this is really a multi-dimensional relationship between the city and the business community. And so I really thank you and the staff for everything that you do to put that into action and to make that meaningful. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Yuri. As the liaison from City Council to the EDA, I get to see you and your team in action on a regular basis. And in my view, I think you really hit your stride during COVID. The mayor commented about the number of grants that the city of Williamsburg gave out. And I think we were so successful, correct me if I'm wrong, that we got 3 rounds of grants provided by the state. So I think there are very few local governments who can say the same. I'm also extremely proud of the incentive program. I've been one, let's get over that $1 million and really celebrate it. And if I remember correctly, we have a number of businesses who have not only graduated, but graduated early, sort of signifying that, that extra boost that we provided with the incentive really helped them, and that they were able to exceed the revenues projected. So I'm glad about that. I think the collaboration program that you talked about with VPCC and the Chamber, for those of us who've been around a little bit, it reminds me of the Chefs to Go program that was so successful a number of years ago. But this one sounds like it's going to be much broader in scope, which I think will really help. One thing I often hear about is customer service and the lack thereof, so hopefully there'll be good attention to that. And as far as, what your office does, yes, it does the retention and recruitment, and we have surveys presented to us across the city, but I also think it should be pointed out that Joanna particularly takes care of our tourism business in a very broad way. Not only is she the head person for the TDF development grants, but she's the point of contact for the Tourism Contingency Fund. She's the lead for Williamsburg Area Arts Council, and also for the Public Art Council. So all of those things really work in to help promote tourism and bring visitors here and broaden the scope of Williamsburg overall. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the wonderful presentation, and I would also like to thank you and your team for just the amazing work that you accomplished here in the city. I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge all of the business owners in the room. We're honored to have you here in the city of Williamsburg, and thank you for all the amazing contributions to making Williamsburg such a special place. So thank you again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, takes us now to City Manager's report. Anything, Mr. Trivett?
None this month.
City Attorney's report?
Nothing today.
Not making it exciting. Okay, takes us now to open forum. I do have a number of speakers card, and when I call your name, please come to the podium and state your name and address, and please try to speak into the microphone so that everybody in the room has the benefit of what you may have to say. So the first is Mr. Don Pratt. And we've allotted everybody 5 minutes, so thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I didn't expect to be first, but...
Well, always first in my book.
I have no real prepared remarks, but I am here in support of the Williamsburg Area Restaurant Association and all of those restaurant and food service operations that are part of it. I was in food service operations in Williamsburg for about 20 years. And I learned the difficulty of running a food service operation, a restaurant, a coffee house, or whatever, during that period of time. It is not an easy task. And every single penny that you look at on a daily basis is an important penny. Every single percentage that you collect is an important percentage. And what I'm talking about in particular here today is the increase in meals tax that I think is going to be levied or is being considered for being applied to existing collections. I did a quick analysis on one of my last years of operations, and we sold our businesses 5 years ago. And I took some numbers and looked at how this increase might affect the taxes that we paid at the time or would pay today. 5% of our revenues, 5% being the meals tax at the time that we had our businesses, amounted to $87,805 that we paid in to the coffers every year. If we increase that to 6.5%, then that would be $114,147 that we would pay in to the coffers for this one single business. That's a $26,000 increase, $26,342 increase. That's a significant amount of revenue if we could hold on to it. What I would encourage is some method of restoring some of those revenues to the food service operations. And we talked about something just before the meeting started, I believe it was, regarding a 2% return to the businesses for credit card sales, I believe, to pay the fees on credit card sales. And I think that's great. But that just means it's not a charge to the food service operator. When we take a look at these taxes that I was talking about, in particular the $87,805 5% meals tax that we incurred, I took a look then at the net income that we generated for the business during that same year. And that net income amounted to 3.11% of revenues. But we were paying out 5% in taxes. There's a disparity in the benefit there. And I would hope that in consideration of that disparity, some way, somehow, you might be able to bring about an equity in that. I also understand that the tax on prepared meals and beverages is going to apply only to the city food service operators. Back in 2018, something similar came up, and there was a tax that was going to be applied to the food service operators, and it was, I think it was going to be 2%. Our senator at the time, Tommy Norman, got involved, and he was able to have that tax applied across the county, not just in the city. So if we could do something like that for the existing businesses, the existing food service operators, I think it would be more palatable across the board. 3.11% income to the business owner versus 5% going out to the city in taxes. There's a disparity there that I would hope that consideration could be given to bring closer together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Pratt.
it.
Next speaker's card I have is Mr. Stephen Kennedy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Stephen Kennedy, 104 Penn Drive. I saw also the Chief Investment Strategist at the Williamsburg Financial Group right here in town, stone's throw away. I saw Jillian Appel's reporting in the WY Daily on the further budget cuts. That was great progress. It was the #1 story of the day until the Pope announcement just happened from Chicago, in case you haven't heard, breaking news, all right? So Williamsburg, second place again. Sorry about that. So perhaps a summary is in order. I've been hearing a lot over the last couple of weeks on this entire budget process. David Letterman used to do his top 10. Remember the top 10? I'll give you the top 5. For the youngins in the room, check it out on old Netflix stories and so on. So the top 5 in 5 minutes. In your meeting the challenge slide, you say there's funding freezes and constrained spending. Message number 1, spending freezes, ladies and gentlemen, are not, repeat, not budget cuts. Notice what is missing in these slides is any serious discussion about personnel cuts. Nobody likes them, never fun. Check out Jamie Dimon since February to the present. It is not a fun thing to do, but shareholders demand accountability, and I think we should expect the same of you. Message number 2, picking up what the gentleman just said, taxes are too high here. Heavy taxation provides incentives to move elsewhere. An example, the same day as Jillian was writing her article, the Wall Street Journal picked up the Disney article. If you haven't seen it, the mouse ears are going to Abu Dhabi. Okay? If you have a choice of going to Abu Dhabi or California, where do you think you might go? $7 billion investment. Point is, capital goes, and it goes fast where it's treated the best. Think about that. Continuing on with taxes, here's real-world stories from people. These are the clean messages I can share with you. Quote, I'm incredibly concerned to watch civic leaders raise direct cost to travelers. Next email, troubling proposals. We're looking elsewhere for development. Those came from Ashland and Arlington, Virginia clients. Next, it's not their money, quote unquote. Williamsburg meals and lodging taxes punitive. And finally, the one that should keep you up at night, the government makes more money from my guests than I do. One more time, the government makes more money from my patrons than I do. What city, what county, what commonwealth are we in? You cannot tax your way to prosperity, but if you continue with these policies, you can and you will tax restaurants right out of business. I would hate to be on your EDA and your branding committees. Message number 3, I'm hearing strongly that citizens want a change in leadership. Again, this is not personal, been here 28 years. Since Mayor Zeidler, I've never heard that kind of a pounding of the drumbeat about change. Message number 4, the admissions tax and its projections will fail, especially when you're already telegraphing lots of exceptions. You put out there, say we're going to do this and we're doing all the exceptions. You immediately get a lot of people to shut down when you communicate that kind of messaging. Message number 5, speaking of PR and branding, may I strongly suggest that you tell people what the grand total of the meals tax and lodging is. I think I heard it from the gentleman from WARA. To be fair, in the investment business, it's called fair and full disclosure. All your slides keep saying this 1.5%, 2%. You seem to be communicating a fairly innocuous tax increase when it is not. Please tell the full story. The rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. Again, 3/4 of the room know that reference. The other, I'm sorry, look it up for later. If you're into 5, 6, and 7% taxes on meals and lodging, those slides that we just saw earlier are going to go backwards. They're going to go backwards fast. You can ignore reality, the economic realities, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. Now comes the tough part, execute and implement this budget. I have lots of ideas, suggestions, and alternatives for you. Anytime I'm talking to a federal, state, or county or municipal elected official, I have lots of ideas, suggestions. I'll need another 5 minutes for that. Let's show the citizen taxpayer that Williamsburg does not just preserve history, we make it. Lower the meals tax, lower the lodging tax, and let this council be remembered for returning common sense to the citizens. Now that would be a great example of courageously leading. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good day. We'll see you around town.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Next speaker's card I have is Noreen Graziano.
Noreen Graziano, 1300 Garrison Drive. Thank you for your time and consideration. I am the current president of the Williamsburg Area Restaurant Association, also known as WARA. WARA is a nonprofit that was established in 1999. The association supports and promotes the economic interest of nearly 100 local restaurants. I am also a city business owner who would be affected by the proposed meals tax increase and water increase. Both the Restaurant Association and my business are opposed to the current 1.5% increases in meals tax and a 30% increase in the water. The restaurant industry is struggling. Local restaurants are already faced with rising food costs, increased spending on staff, utilities, rent, and decreased visitation, and increased credit card fees. Customer spending is down. Diners are sharing items and choosing cheaper meals. The consumer is eating out less due to uncertainty. Current restaurateurs are absorbing the credit card fees to collect meals tax. With an increase in meals tax, these fees also will increase. The 2% dealer discount does not cover these fees. An increase in the meals tax unfairly targets one industry rather than distributing taxes more equitably across all sectors. Patrons of the restaurants are both locals and tourists. We feel by increasing the meals tax by 1.5% to the existing 5% local meal tax is effectively increasing the meal tax by 30%. We feel this will drive locals out of visiting city restaurants and could result in decreased visitation to these restaurants. We all know the common goal in this room is increasing visitation. A 30% increase in the meals tax is unacceptable. The city should be doing everything in its power to incentivize commerce versus burdening the fragile restaurant sector still recovering from COVID. The city should be backfilling abandoned restaurants instead of burdening those trying to keep their doors open. Restaurateurs are repeatedly asked about the taxes on a customer's receipt. In a time of such uncertainty, we understand budget shortfalls, but feel these shortfalls could come from other sources and should be revisited. Let's raise the taxes where the taxes are the lowest. The current real estate and personal property taxes are among the lowest in the area. I believe that City Council should explore alternative revenue-generating strategies, such as more efficient budget allocation, reducing unnecessary expenses, or seeking state or federal funding where possible. While I understand the importance of maintaining essential public services, we must do so in a way that does not disproportionately burden the businesses who contribute to the vibrancy of the community. Thank you.
Next speaker's card I have is Dr. Granbuell. Welcome, sir. Just state your name and address for the record and keep your comments to about 5 minutes.
David Cranbuell, 201 Harrison, 55-year resident here. Proud to be one. First, to me, the best news happened 2 hours ago when we saw Americans are really respected worldwide. And they know who we are, and elected a Pope from America. I'm not a Catholic, but I'm very proud of that fact. I was worried about who we are in the world. Okay, second of all, I want to thank each of you for responding in one way or another to spent a lot of time and we're talking with others, people who know a lot about financing. And I appreciate that. So I just want to mention the 4 things that I tried to stress last time. Number one, we have nothing to be proud of how travel's been handled, and I know it won't happen to remodel it tonight, but it should happen over the next months. And there's nothing wrong with reducing the budget for travel. The Wall Street Journal on the front page of the second section said companies rein in business travel spending. And of course, as you're hearing, there's all kinds of problems with businesses. I'm involved in one. And people are spending less and sales, they said instead of spending 2 meals, they were sharing 1 meal. And and of course, we all know that people are nervous having lost a whole lot of resources. So, at any rate, I would hope we'd fix up travel and cut the budgets, as all these other people are stressing, and that you can reapply for more. I'm not saying you have to live within it, but let's have an open, competitive discussion. Second thing is the $600,000 for implementing the comprehensive plan is totally uncalled for. There is no history of that amount. We ought to check that out, and we ought to be dealing with the minimum. I point out that James Boswell, Michelle DeWitt, Thomas Weissong, Tevia's new excellent assistant planner, the people on the Planning Commission who has always been involved, and we have very strong neighborhood leadership. That group is certainly able to handle citizen input very well. So, and we need the $600,000 because we need to support the library. I am for the library. Okay, and we need more money for it, obviously, based on what I learned talking with John McGlennon. The third thing we need is real democracy, open public meetings. And this needs to occur on our most important spending item for the whole decade, the library. We need to get the public involved in open New England-style meetings where we exchange things. It's like, oh, I only have 1 minute, 57 seconds, and no response. I mean, that's not democracy at all. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. So we need to have open public meetings, and they need to involve the citizens, the city council, and the library personnel, probably run by some member or other of city council. And then the fourth thing is, we all understand the uncertain future. You're hearing all about it. The one thing we do need to spend money on, thank you, Jack Reed, for the wonderful presentation and the video that I got. We need to go forward with that full speed. I'd like to see all the estimates of which stage, what it costs, and whatever. But the rest of these things need to be prioritized. And I would put the library right near the second one. But we need to discuss the size and the cost. And many of them, I think, are going to get canceled, just like the splash park. So let's get that process going with citizens involved, not a hired professional. We can do it. We're a very intelligent community, and we're very easy to talk with. And I have 42 seconds left, and I'm happy to end on time, and I appreciate all that you're doing. And I know it's tough listening to things that need to change, but please continue to make these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker's card I have is Ms. Nancy Bolash. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Nancy Bolash, 327 Burns. Our time and circumstances demand that you seriously cut back on borrowing and spending. Hopefully, as you pause to do so, please remember what is unique and special about our city: the beautiful historic area, hardworking staff, and the downtown historic neighborhoods. The neighborhoods are the visitor's first impression about what is special and why they come here. And during Historic Garden Week, a powerful draw on their own. Precious time and good periods of financial stability have been squandered in the past to stem the downward spiral of the neighborhoods into short-term housing. But it would be an irresponsible mistake not to make this a priority now. There are inexpensive ways to proceed at this juncture. First, reach out to other college towns to compare and contrast how they manage enforcement of ordinances. I know from a casual inquiry I made, for instance, that inspectors from other areas go in immediately when they're over capacity situations. They do not wait, as our jurisdiction does. Use a collaboration between these kindred towns to lobby the legislature for more options, to hold landlords accountable for occupancy, safety, and other violations. In partnership with the college, reach out to graduating seniors to view their housing problems and take the press with you. Encourage the college to develop upper-class housing and developers to fund affordable student housing. Encourage staff at William & Mary, CW, the city, and others to live in the neighborhoods. I'm not great at slogans, but something like this could really be effective. Williamsburg, a great place to visit, an even better place to live. It could be featured prominently on our website and other miscellaneous promotions. Maintain a list of interested buyers that can be passed on to the neighborhoods. And yes, set aside at least some money for folks seeking to buy or refurbish downtown. If landlords and businesses are deserving of financial breaks, an even better message is sent to your citizens by setting aside a fund for this purpose. Finally, begin a group of city departments that can work together on neighborhood issues and have a regularly scheduled time to work with the community. One of Williamsburg's most precious yet underutilized assets are our citizens. We have intelligent ideas to suggest and a willingness and time to work on some of these ideas. How you deal with the downtown historic neighborhoods is a blueprint as well as a roadmap to show how you should conduct all of your affairs. Financial integrity, honest openness and inclusion, facing realities, and setting attainable priorities for your citizens that you can responsibly deliver on. Let's turn a page and start now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Polash. Next speaker's card I have is Vicky Chauhan. Welcome, sir. The Honorable.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mickey Chauhan, 129 Berkeley Lane, Williamsburg, also co-owner of Second Street Restaurant. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of City Council. Thanks for the opportunity. The adopted budget from 2024 was increased 24.5% to land the city manager's proposed budget of $112 million on this current budget. So it's been whittled down now, and it whittled down to 1.8, and then 1.3 is where we're landed at right now. The council collectively gave themselves an attaboy for a job well done, reducing the proposed budget by 10%. As a result, the budget has now increased from last year, the 90 million, to the 103. It's increased 14%, an enormous increase from the previous year, double-digit growth. We'd all like that, with the exception of it being in our budget. The water increase from $5.30 to $6.89 per 1,000 gallons is understandably to fix a dated and crumbling infrastructure. Increasing the cost by $1.59 per 100,000 is also a 30% increase. Although there's been an enormous jump in the rate, our water has been more than reasonable as an industry standard, and we're generating these funds to safeguard the consumer's needs and essential services. If these monies are solely used for the upgrade and improvement of the water service, it is a fair increase, aka a fair tax. I am not a tax abstractor or a tax advocate or a no tax advocate. I'm a resident and a business owner in the city who wants taxes to be fair and reasonable. We should stay within our means and not overspend. Regarding spending, the city manager has initially proposed increasing expenditures by 24% over last year's budget, approved budget. Since the initial proposal was released, expenditures have been shaved $3.3 million, which is taking 57 of the proposed, lessening 3.3. The current new expenditure is $54 million. That's 17%, well, actually it's $8 million difference, and an increase over last year by 17%, another double-digit situation. And it seems like more spending than collecting. There may be a pattern there, I don't know. It seems to me there may be a spending problem. In the 2024 adopted budget, city manager's human resource expenditure increased from $536,000 $800,000 in 2021 to 2024, doubled it to $1,167,000 in 4 years. This is a glaring example of what makes city council members to appear as though they're being duped into thinking they're forward-thinking and taking brave steps, and the buzzword of courageous leadership that I think that does not fit what really is meant to be intended. Taking the meal tax from 5% to 6.5% is a 30% increase in meal tax. And to think that this would be implemented on January 1st, if this budget is passed the way it is, that would be a poor time for our locals to come out and join us in the restaurants and be exposed to that level of increase. Mind you, we're 2.5% higher than James City County and York County, and their meal tax will be 62% less. What do the numbers unfair advantage seem like when that is pushing and shifting business outside the city? That's why the 152 restaurants are concerned that we would be negatively impacted by the 30% rate increase. The Williamsburg restaurant business community does not feel like the business appreciation we've heard from today. It's just a disheartening fact, and our city leaders are not courageously standing up and questioning why all the spending. This is about wants and needs. City council wants to impose more taxes and grow government is the only obvious conclusion versus the needs of the business community to help us encourage commerce and not dissuade it. There's been rumors in the restaurant community that some will place on the receipt a new line item on the guest receipt as City Council unfair tax 1.5%. I hope that doesn't happen. But this new tax rate would tie us in Williamsburg for first place for the highest tax in the Commonwealth of Virginia, not a first place ribbon winning competition. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of these thoughts, just giving you a little bit more fodder to work with. But unfortunately, I know that I've seen this happen before, and I've been in these sessions, and I know after work session the other day, this has already been decided, so I'm saddened to think that it might go the way it does. But anyhow, thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next speaker's card I have is Mr. Robert Wilson.
Good afternoon. Robert Wilson, 22 The Palisades. I guess it should come as no surprise to you that I'd like to address the new library project, which is in the CIP budget at a cost over the next couple of years of $40 million. And I recognize that the last meeting you did comment that perhaps it needs to be revisited in light of the neighboring jurisdictions withdrawing their support. As I pointed out, a decision was made, as you pointed out to me, a decision was made by the city in 2018 to reject option number 1, renovate the existing library facility made by the architectural firm of RRMM Lukemeyer Architects in favor of option 3, build a new library in a new location. At the time, the city agreed to participate in joint funding of the new library facility with James City County and York County. Reviewing the history and documents during this period reveals that option 1 was never really seriously considered, and surveys and focus group participants were never advised of the significant cost difference between the two options. In the meantime, you've made decisions to build a new fire station, a new police station, invest millions in a new regional sports facility, and are now required to invest $27 million in our water and sewer systems. These are generally not funded out of the general fund, but by adding to our debt, which needs to be serviced over future years. Likewise, the two adjoining jurisdictions have developed other priorities and are no longer interested in participating and sharing the cost of building a new library in the city. In fact, James City County is going to spend almost $50 million building a 40,000 square foot library in their county. So the money is now gone. We are still in the same facility we were in 2018, and we're faced with how to move forward. Particularly troubling to members of the community were your responses to the suggestion we renovate the existing facility in order to cut in half the required investment. Your comments suggested you were ill-informed about the state of the existing facility and what a major renovation would provide. The 2018 architectural assessment revealed that the existing building was structurally sound, if outdated in some of its systems and finishes, all of which would be readily addressed in a major remodel. For instance, adding a light-filled two-story addition across the front of the building to the current road would add space for students and residents. Relocating the main entrance to the entrance area adjacent to the theater would not only resolve the security concern of two entrances, but also make access from the parking area easier. New building systems controlled by modern energy management and lighting control systems would both improve lighting and energy efficiency. Demolishing the interior space and redesigning the interior layout would address many of the space concerns, and renovating the restrooms for ADA compliance would resolve that express concern. Finally, demolishing the old police station and restoring it to a parking lot or parking garage down the road would provide the desired additional parking, which was the #1 service response from people. What they were looking for in a new library was additional parking. And best of all, the cost would be less than half of the proposed cost of the new facility. You'd probably do a major renovation for $10 to $12 million versus the $40 million for a proposed new facility. I've consistently expressed my feelings that I can support any decision you ultimately make if the public is adequately educated and informed. In this situation, I find this is not the case. The decision to build a new library was made without proper consideration of the major alternative, and decision-making has been skewed in the process. The current proposal adds no new square footage and comes at a price tag that the city can now ill afford. I urge you to reimagine the library project, look more closely at the benefits of a major renovation of the current facility. Maybe then we can actually get a modern, state-of-the-art facility to enjoy in our lifetime. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Next speaker card I have is Marion Steinman. I probably said that wrong, but
Megan.
Megan. That's a G, not a Y.
That's okay. My handwriting is messy. It's my fault.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you to Mayor Pons and members of the council. I'm Megan Steinman. I'm at 515 Newport Avenue. I want to take a moment to say why I think we should be prioritizing the library in our budget. First, a bit about the state of the library. If anyone in this room has spent time there, you know how wonderfully the librarians and staff have used the space they have to meet our community's needs. But you also know how unsustainable the space has become, given increasing demands and modern building standards, especially as library circulation and usage continue to grow. The physical blueprint, the layout, is too small, leading to overcrowding and insufficient space for seats and books. The theater is not ADA compliant. The infrastructure is aging and deteriorating. There are few outlets in the building for people to work. The layout is confusing and undermines public safety. And if you have mobility issues or a stroller, you cannot freely access the second floor. But I've learned that many of these deficiencies alone haven't been enough to convince everyone that we need a new library. And so I want to tell you why updating this space is important for our community. While I'm of course mindful of the current economic conditions, when we talk about our budget, we're talking about more than short-term spending and saving decisions. Some money we spend is a direct investment in our community and its future. And in fact, spending money on a library is an investment that actually provides economic returns. Researchers estimate that for every $1 invested in libraries yields somewhere between $2 and $5 and upwards of 10 in return in direct and indirect value. Libraries provide these returns because these institutions are not just about books. For the past year, I've been teaching a class where students have been observing the community impact of the library, and here are some of the services they have observed. Among the free or low-cost formal services our library offers include notary services, printing services, a makerspace studio, a digital memory lab, a recording studio, film screenings, pamphlets with emergency resources, genealogy resources, book clubs, and reading challenges for all age groups. Children's programming, including festivals, competitions, story time, dance, art, and music. Teen programming, including poetry contests, creative writing, gaming tournaments, and art classes. Adult and senior programming that includes film, book, art exhibits and talks, presentations on parenting, downsizing, financial planning, navigating retirement. There's a memory cafe for those dealing with memory loss and their caregivers, and a host of technology classes for every level. They also offer free dinners and story time twice a month for Spanish-speaking families. but libraries also offer a wealth of informal services. Any day you walk into the library, you'll see staff helping patrons with everything from finding a new book in a genre they like to locating resources for housing assistance. And you can also see the librarians and staff make a space that is comfortable and welcoming for people who are unhoused in our community, teens who have nowhere to go after school, new mothers looking for a respite from the isolation of having a baby, or seniors who just seek out companionship and conversation. There's no other single place in the Williamsburg area that can offer all of these resources to every segment of our population. And at the material level, and especially for children, these services have broader, tangible community effects. Economists from the Fed in Chicago found something important about library capital investment. When communities invest in their libraries, kids show up more. Library capital investment increases kids' attendance at library events by 18%, children's checkouts by 21%, and overall library visits by 21%. And this jump is not just in the short term. This persists for at least 10 years after capital investments have been made. But most important, the rise in library use is also linked to better children's test scores in nearby school districts. This kind of thing matters, especially during a time when we're working so hard to improve the outcomes of our local kids. So while I understand concerns about the budget, cutting funding for the library won't save us money in the long term. In fact, it could be costly. So when we're looking critically at our budget, we shouldn't just see the library as any other line item. It should be prioritized because it's a long-term investment in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next card I have is Ms. Amy Quirk. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Amy Quirk. I'm at 502 Newport Avenue, and I kind of just want to say like what she said because I think that was amazing, and the library is really something I want to focus on as well. I have lived here for 16 years, and knock on wood, I'm looking towards another 50 years in calling Williamsburg my home. So I'm very interested in thinking about our future, and I really want to thank the City Council and the city staff for their careful planning and thinking about the long-term investment in public goods and in a fiscally sound future for our community. I want to speak to the funding for the new library. I'm in support of the proposed budget as it stands, and just particularly wanted to show my support for the library. Unlike an earlier speaker, I feel very well informed about the library. We've been talking about this as a community for a number of years. I've filled out surveys about my concerns, my dreams, my priorities for what a library might look like. And so I feel like there has been public engagement around this, and that the library is something that is a priority not for our Williamsburg community, and something that's heavily used by constituents in neighboring counties as well. Now, beyond our public schools, I think the library is a public institution that truly services the entire community. It targets the widest possible demographic range, from infants to the elderly. It provides knowledge, training, information, access to technology, entertainment, educational enrichment, support for the differently abled, community meeting spaces. The library creates community. It is one of the few spaces in our community where people from all walks of life truly come together. It is the definition of a public good that has these multiplier effects that the previous speaker spoke about. Our library is award-winning, but it achieves this excellence despite inadequate facilities. As you all know, as in your report, according to the Virginia AAA Public Library Standards, the library is 300% beyond recommended capacity. And I just want to repeat that for anyone that didn't look closely at that, 300% beyond recommended capacity. An excellent library is part of the amenities that make people want to live in Williamsburg, that make people want to move to Williamsburg. This is where quality of life is created. And a fantastic library also brings people to the downtown. We know that the heaviest users of our library don't live in Williamsburg. And I think we also know that James City County, one of the reasons I'm sure they want to build their own library is because they know when people come to the library, they also visit businesses. They also go to restaurants. And so we want that investment in Williamsburg, and we want the true excellence that our library staff deserves given everything that they offer us. So I just wanted to close by saying I really appreciate, again, the city staff and the council for their thoughtful planning and their attentiveness to many constituencies. Not everyone has the ability to come and speak at these public meetings on a regular basis. I know myself as a parent and as someone that has an ambitious career, fitting this in is not easy to do, but I appreciate that the responsiveness of the council and the staff when I reach out by email, and I appreciate the work that's gone into this thoughtful budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quirk. So that concludes all my speakers cards, but the open forum is still available. If anybody would like to come forward to Mr. Carr. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. My name is Bill Carr. I live at 316 Indian Springs Road. I don't stand before you today to talk about the library or the budget. What I'm concerned with is what Nancy Bolash addressed you all with, is the deterioration of our neighborhoods adjacent to the college. First, I want to thank again the police department for having a heavy police presence on the last day of classes for William and Mary. It was an uneventful day in Indian Springs, so thank you. I also want to thank the city manager, and the assistant city manager for having a very good historic garden tour. Indian Springs had a lot of people in the neighborhood. The Maleckis, the Dazzlers, and the Missy and I had our home open, and we had 962 people come through. So I think it was a really good sign, and the neighborhood was alive with a lot of people. It was great. During the work session, I introduced 4 action steps. I want to go recap those very quickly, and then I want to introduce 6 other ones. And I promise Nancy and I did not collaborate before this meeting. Number 1, dashboard. Have a dashboard on the city website that will link and show all of the college rental properties, 3 and 4 units, and the names of the landlords. Also have the contact information of the landlords. This is so that we as concerned citizens and neighbors can let the landlord know if something untoward is going on at his or her property. If the owner of the property is an LLC, then have the managing member or the registered agent listed on the dashboard. Number 2, inspections. If the city is precluded from inspecting a student rental house for every 3 or 4 years, then have the landlord certify twice a year that there are no more than what he or she says are living in the unit. If it's 3 students, fine. If it's 4, fine. If the city finds out that there's more than that, then there should be consequences to the landlord. Number 3, Nancy touched on this, start a fund, maybe help private equity, start a fund, but just have a dialogue on how we can raise some money and perhaps save some of these units and take them off the market when they're for sale, and encourage a young couple or anyone wanting to live in these neighborhoods to have access to that unit. And then number 4, I think, is the most important from the work session. Have a permit. If anyone wants to have a party and have more than 25 people outside and or a band, then they need to fill out the permit that would have the name of the students, the name of the landlord with the landlord's permission to have the party, have an ABC liquor license. Whenever I throw an oyster roast, I always get an ABC license, and I also have liability insurance. So on this permit, you ought to have all these blocks and make sure they're checked by the kids, the students who want to have this party. It should be a fee, maybe $15, maybe $25. And absolutely, this applies to everyone. It applies to me. If Missy and I want to throw an outdoor party and we have more than 25 people, I've got to go down and fill out that permit. And also on the permit, it ought to have a space that they have notified their adjacent neighbors so they know that this party is going to happen at a certain time. Okay, they were for what I mentioned last time. I've got 1 minute. I'm going to fly through the 6 new ones. And here we go. The police, when the police are called, get out of the cruiser, go and check the house out and see if there are any underage drinking. Also, post a cruiser at the top of the street and inspect all cars leaving to make sure no one is drinking and driving. That includes me. If I were to leave, they could stop me. Number two, change the William and Murray student parking permits so that they can't pass them around like candy to all the other members, to their friends. I see I have 30 seconds left. Let me just give you the big hammer. Virginia Code, Section 4.1, 317, maintaining common nuisance properties and penalties. It's on the Virginia books. You cannot do what these students are doing with these parties and this alcohol, and if they are found to be a common nuisance, then the landlord gets fined $500 and also could run the risk of not having, losing his ability to rent his property for 5 years. It's on the books. I encourage the city to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Welcome. Just
Opportunity to speak today. I'm Joy Abed. Actually, Joy Anderson Abed. And why is that important? I've lived here. It's been my home since 1959. I was born in Bell Hospital, which I don't know how many of you know that. It's three-bedroom hospital, first one. My grandfather had a great love for this area. He was a James City County supervisor. And in fact, I'm told he's the reason we have the City of Williamsburg and James City County schools. I appreciate the speak from the library. I would have loved to seen statistics broken down for our library here on the percentage of teens, the teens that can get here and everything. I also appreciate that your job is not easy. That being said, I really think that we need to take a page out of Charleston, South Carolina. They had a mayor, my understanding was 30 years. They started to let chains come in, and he quickly realized that that was cutting the charm of their city. It's a very charming city. I think we can all agree. It's got a thriving food industry, and they even have a culinary school there with a restaurant that the culinary students can work in. Amazing success. They have food festivals, food art, and I find them a very successful in their tourism and getting people to come there. And nobody wants to go to anywhere USA. I think when we started letting Bruce's Body Shop, you're not going to find people coming to Williamsburg saying, oh, I had a wonderful time. I went to TGF Fridays or whatever, you know. They're not looking for your chains, okay? And you need to keep that base thriving with interesting, charming. I was just in Charlottesville last weekend. Talk about charm, charming. Lots of interesting shops and places to eat. Even some of them were kind of hole in the wall, but they were interesting and thriving, packed. People lined up waiting to get in, you know? So some other ideas that don't cost as much. I mean, I don't know how Wade Park got in there, you know? Can't be open all year round. We already said the water infrastructure was a problem. Well, my knowledge of Wade Park uses a lot of water. So that definitely wouldn't be a good use of funds. Music, we have a thriving music industry here that's been kind of squashed for a while. I mean, there's a history that even Tina Turner and some of these very famous artists had their beginnings here. They actually weren't even allowed to be in the same area with white musicians. They had a special area on the river. What about a covered venue? I mean, that can't cost a lot, you know, where it doesn't matter if it rains or whatever. I can remember when I used to go to the ones you had over there at the Palace Greens. Thousands of people there. Food trucks, food trucks. That brings me to another concern I have, which I don't see any data out there. The restaurants are continuously, and small businesses are your lifeblood here. But food trucks, what is their contribution to our tax base? I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see it be a little bit more fair. We pay so much more. I mean, our taxes went up on the commercial buildings, and I just think you need to look a little broader. I still was never a big fan of the sports thing either, $79 million, and all the studies done on that say it's a money pit. It's certainly not going to bring any business to me. And there was a huge thing that went viral. A dad went to Walt Disney World. He called it for one day was $1,400. It's viral because people can't, he says, I won't go back. I can't afford to do that. The tickets, and it was so overwhelmed with people in there that they couldn't even get through. They had to buy another $400 ticket so they could get through the passes. For four, his bill for food was $265. So you're going to get more if you price yourself affordable. I know I'm running out of time. And get more people to draw here. You have got to find your unique niche, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome.
Hello.
Just state your name and address for the record, please, and try to speak into the microphone.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor Pons, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name's Jacqueline Labler. I am at 1406 High Street, and we are with Revolution Golf and Grill. Our family owns it, and I independently run and manage it. Since being here in Williamsburg, I've had the opportunity to serve on different boards. Recently, I was a former president of WARA, Williamsburg Area Restaurant Association. Also right after COVID, co-founded a social media site and helped manage it, which is called Williamsburg Eat Local, which really brings the community and restaurants together. So I'm a huge advocate when it has to deal with anything that supports the restaurant community. I have witnessed with fellow restaurant owners as well that we have been hit with quite a few challenges over the past couple of years. We had the property tax increase in 2022. We are dealing with increase of food costs, as well as hiring and staffing issues. There's a decrease in tourism, and we're also dealing with every other obstacle that we're thrown through daily. I've spoken to many restaurant owners, and it's been unfortunate because a lot of them didn't want to come today because they felt like it was going to be the outcome that it was going to be passed. So I will always be an advocate because I believe even if the decision goes the way that is expected, that we still have a voice to be able to have the opportunity to come here and share those concerns. I know that being able to sit back and observe, I came to the April 10th meeting here as well as this past Monday, and I understand that the decision is not easy. It's not something that you guys take lightly, and I understand, as you had mentioned, council member, it's easier to come with solutions, not just have the problem. So I completely understand, but I think our concern is that this is going to affect where people are going to dine. I know it was also mentioned that it would be great in an indirect effect on all the restaurants, that the money funded would be able to go into the people that would be able to preserve and take care of the city, which is extremely important. But the people coming into this city will not be dining if they see that the taxes are higher than others, especially if they are able to go to Newtown or surrounding places that are just a few miles away. And we want them to dine in the city of Williamsburg. So right now, we just feel though everyone is working against the restaurant when they're voting for this meals tax. So we're just asking to please work with the restaurants, not against us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Labler. Oop, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. Welcome.
I just again want to circle back. My name is Rachel Sears. Thank you, council members, for listening to all of us. I reside in James City currently. I'm on the 4700 block of Bristol Circle, and I am a proud, longtime native of Williamsburg, living in the city, York County, and James City throughout my life. My career has been spent in the restaurant and hospitality industry, and I currently serve as the executive director for the Williamsburg Area Restaurant Association. And I am here on behalf of our nearly 100 current members to again ask you to reconsider this meal and tax increase. The food service professionals that are here are so vital to our community. An increase in the meals tax would place another burden on our locally owned restaurants, which many have still not recovered from the lasting impacts of the pandemic, in addition to rising inflation, severe staffing shortages, less dining out. You've all heard this before. And unlike some of the larger chains, our small businesses have to function on a razor-thin profit margin. Most of them are struggling day to day, and my concern is that there will be more businesses that are going to end up having to close their doors because of this. These people are not just part of our community as employees, but they're a vital part of our hospitality industry and in general. And I just ask that you reconsider and try not to put this burden on the businesses and jeopardize such a vital and a valuable industry. So again, thank you for your time. I was in and out in 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you so much. I believe Ms. Fairbanks, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council. Sabrina Fairbanks, 119 Berkeley Lane in Walnut Hills. I'm back today to talk about the operating expense side of our budget, which is the largest thing we have is our employee costs. So I'm again requesting that you use some of our tax dollars to purchase software and automation which could assess which positions in each department are absolutely necessary to operate our small town, because we only have 4,333 tax-paying households and businesses, some of the people who are behind me that represent those people and businesses. Most of the people who sit behind me are united in our concern that the number of city employees cannot continue to grow at this alarming rate. We don't want you to fund the 9 employees who city management wants to hire in July. We can't believe there were 21.5 positions which you did not even consider this fiscal year. I was taught it was poor manners to talk about money, but I don't really know how to avoid it when we're talking about a budget. So I'm sorry about this in advance. This is based on 2023 data. Let's start with the finance department. Employees have been hired for duties which previous finance directors did themselves. The city just hired an auditor for $145,000. All of these positions are, we understand, have a 48% salary benefits package, so 48% of the salary. We don't understand how this position was funded last December rather than being frozen like the 9 other positions that Mr. Kennedy referenced. The finance department is now asking for a deputy director, which we can assume will cost taxpayers somewhere between the director, who earns $165,000, and the new auditor, who earns $145,000. Let's continue with the planning department. We are now fully staffed with 4 qualified people, who include a director who earns approximately $157,000. We do not need to hire a private firm for $600,000 to update our comprehensive plan. We've got good people, we're fully staffed, let's let them do it. Even if they have to hire people to help with parts, certain chapters, like the economic chapter, that would be a fraction of $600K. I had a section on the EDA, but she spoke today, and our questions were, at a salary of $139,000 plus 2 other full-time employees, we weren't really sure what this department did for small businesses when their taxes are skyrocketing. Do they represent the small businesses who've talked to you today, or do they represent city management, who they work for? We had questions about this EDA grants. Do the small businesses who are represented here today get these grants? You know, what we know is that a multi-million-dollar landlord and investor got $99,000, earlier this year. And, we have questions about these grants. Let's move on to the city manager's office. This number of employees has continued to grow, especially now that our city manager is leading this HRTFA, if I have that right, it's sports complex and other things, I guess. We're hiring employees who may ultimately work full-time for the city. We have questions about that. A city manager's salary is at least $225,000. We don't know if he's being compensated to lead this other organization, but we've got an assistant city manager who, it's our understanding, is responsible for special projects like the infamous Children's Park. That's $176,000. And anyway, the city manager's department has grown to such a point that there was a request that the third floor of the new police station could be the city manager's suite of offices, complete with a private elevator. So I need to wind it up here. So our current employee cost is over $19 million a year before the 9 proposed so-called frozen positions. There's no end in sight. We want qualified people. Maybe this AI program shows that we need more people. But to find out, we need to get automated and get this software to figure out where we stand and where we go in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fairbanks. Would anybody else like to come forward? Seeing none, I'll close the open forum and thank everyone for the comments, as diverse as they were. A lot of good things to think about. So that takes us now to unfinished business, and first is consideration and action on the proposed resolution number 25-07, approving the FY26 budget for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025. Mr. Trivett.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. Today, we've got several budget-related action items. The first is the adoption of the resolution. The resolution sets the budget. It reflects the budget as we described it on Monday and is prepared for your adoption. We're happy to answer any questions.
Good, thank you. So we have gone through this for over a couple months now, and so I'll turn to council to see if there's any adjustments or comments that they wanted to put forward.
I had a question, Ms. Dameron. Could you talk about, in the resolution, could you talk about number 5 and number 6? We've had some questions where it seems a little confusing. The language is a little different than previous years. It's number 5 on the resolution and number 6 on the resolution.
So number 5 sets the authorized full-time equivalent positions for FY26. The total number of those positions cannot increase unless City Council authorizes it. It does allow the manager to transfer or change the nature of the position as needed to carry out the goals of the organization or for efficiency. And then 6 speaks to flexible budgets, and it's specifically related to items that have offsetting revenue related to grant revenue, insurance proceeds, donations, or police or fire compensation for special events. And that compensation for special events is often our police officers will work events off duty, but the city pays them, and then the sponsor of the event reimburses the city. Sometimes it's hard at the beginning of the budget to know all the events that might occur during the year, and that simply allows us, as additional revenue is received, to increase the compensation for the officer by a like amount. Same thing with the grants. It's for things like Four for Life, which is for fire department, as well as the ATL, which is equipment grant that they get, or a little grant. New this year that we know of would be adding the national opioid funds. And sometimes we have been known to get either donations specifically for a certain item for the police or maybe Parks and Rec. Most of these things are tied to compliance regulations or specific things that grant's for. It does not, however, allow us, say, for example, if one of our revenue streams, our taxes, let's say, happen to exceed our budgeted revenue, we could not increase our appropriations for that without coming back to council and getting authorization to do that.
Thank you. Are we commenting now?
Sure. Well, let's go through, and if there's anything any specific questions, and then we'll come back and make some comments.
No, I don't have any specific questions.
No questions.
Well, and so I guess I'll start with just maybe some observations when one of the things that we heard about today, several of them, the library. I think the library conversation will evolve, and certainly as we pointed out last Monday, there'll be several occasions for the public to work with or provide some input about the library. But I think as we move forward, having the money that we have allocated in our CIP, it can't be exceeded. If the cost were to be greater than that, if the James City County, York County don't participate to the extent we would like them to, then we understand that there'll be some budget limitations. But there's been talk about the James City County Library. I think it's really only talk. I don't know that there's plans yet. I don't know that they borrowed the money. And I presume it might be approved in their CIP this week, but we don't know the impact of whether it's going to be built or not. And I think that's something that we will have to take into consideration as we move forward. Certainly well before we go to bond financing to do anything, whether it's a major renovation or construction of a new library. And that's kind of true with the comprehensive plan review. I know that we've put into the capital, into our CIP, some $600,000 over the span of 2 years, but we haven't even gone to RFP yet. We don't know what yet we'll be seeking in that RFP. Is that correct, Ms. Griffin? We haven't developed, or Mr. City Manager? So we haven't developed the RFP. It could be a hybrid, could be part in-house, could be part with a consultant. So we don't know what that number is going to be. And really that's just a placeholder for the funds. And so it may be much less. But there is a cost if we do it in-house as well. And so some of it's monetary and some of it's intangible. So we have to take that into consideration. And that process will go through the Planning Commission, where there'll be public hearings and open forums, and come back to City Council before that decision is ultimately made. We've heard a tremendous amount about the impact of taxation on businesses, and I think you all, Ms. Liebler says, you know that this is not an easy decision. The funds go to supporting the city that I want to see for all of our residents, and that's a city that is meeting the expectations of people of all ages, from our young children entering school and going through K through 12 education, our visitors, our homeowners, our renters, everyone. There's a tremendous amount of service that we provide our city. I was just at Food Line today and was stopped by somebody who wanted to take a moment to tell me how glad they are for having moved to the city 2 years ago and how wonderful it is. So that's great. And I think everybody in the city, whether you live here or just have a business here, feel the same way. And that doesn't come without a lot of dedicated city employees with a budget to support it. So those would be my comments, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I too would like to thank everyone over the last couple months that have provided input into the budget. A lot of comments on the proposed meals tax increase. And, there's been a lot of discussion amongst city council members. There's been a lot of meetings. We've met with people in the community to discuss different aspects of the budget. But one thing I want to reiterate is because you made a suggestion and it's not included in the proposed budget, doesn't mean that it wasn't seriously considered. This has been as difficult for us as it has been for how you feel in the community, making these decisions to look at tax increases of any type. So just because it's not recognized in the budget, and I'll tell you, all of my suggestions aren't in the budget. We have debates amongst ourselves. Because we don't debate each other at the dais doesn't mean that we don't have differing opinions when it comes to the budget or many other topics that come before us. So we debate those things. And for me, as the mayor mentioned, two of the biggest things I've heard is the library and the comp plan. One of the things I want to remind folks that we talked about on Monday and in previous meetings, that this is a plan. This is not tying us to a new library. This is not tying us to a $600,000 comp plan. As we all know, the word's been said, uncertainty. As we move forward, if uncertainty continues, then we're going to have to make adjustments as a council and as city staff. We're going to have to make adjustments to the budget to fit that current economic situation. And it may mean that the library gets delayed, or a comp plan gets delayed, or we find some way to reduce that cost to still provide those things for the community. And again, some of my own recommendations aren't in the budget, but at the end of the day, I have to make decisions that I think are in the best interest of the city. And we as council members, just because we're council members doesn't mean that we don't feel the effects of things that happen with the economy as well. And so it really becomes a difficult challenge when we talk about raising taxes. But I will say, and this is not in any way to applaud city council, because this remains difficult, but as a one-time city employee and my time on city council, I don't ever recall us making this many cuts to a proposed budget to try to get it down to a manageable number. And that goes from input that's attributed to input from the community, and a lot of work from city council members, and a lot of work from city staff in looking at their own budgets. And we're trying to whittle this thing down to where it's manageable. So I do think that's just a point that we have been responsive to many of the suggestions from the community, and we still have an open ear. Again, this is a plan. As we move forward with this plan, we still have an open ear to listen to the community as we make decisions going forward. Thank you.
Honestly, he just stole my comments. He just totally stole them all. I'll say them differently, I guess. A couple things. Thank you to everyone who spoke today and who has been engaged in this. And one thing I think about with Williamsburg all the time is how many ways somebody comes here as a tourist, come here as a student, retire here because you were once a tourist or a student and it made such an impression on you. Come here because this is where your job led you, right? There's just so many, you were always here. Your family has always been here. And so when I think about the ecosystems that we have here in Williamsburg and the community and what makes it, I really truly think that it's so unique. And we always say that, we say that all the time, like Williamsburg is special, Williamsburg unique. And it is, but I think that in some ways we can pinpoint it a little bit and articulate it a little bit better than I think a lot of other places can, because everyone lands here for kind of different reasons. We're not a tourist town, we're not totally a college town, we're not like totally a retirement community, we're all of these things. And so what I appreciate today is that we really heard a lot from different ways, different parts of our community, and I appreciate that. Because sometimes I think, and I'm guilty of this myself, sometimes it can be really easy to think that the way you got here is the way everybody else got here. And sometimes when you don't sort of step out and remember that our perspective on Williamsburg can be different based on who we are, how we got here, and what's going on in our lives. And so when I think about a budget, right, and I think about what we're doing up here, it is intended, and hopefully, right, something that everyone, they can't see themselves in the entire thing, but they can see themselves and their piece of the community and some part of it. And I think that that's what's important, is that up here and in the city staff, like trying to weave together like all the pieces of the Williamsburg ecosystem so that, you know, we're all supported and hopefully seeing something that like I'm excited about in the future, or I'm glad that I'm here. And it's not perfect, and it's not gonna be. That's just not possible. But I do, you know, those are sort of the reflective things that comes to my mind when we're discussing all of it that comes together. But so on more specific points, I do want to just echo a little bit about what the Vice Mayor just said about, you know, looking at how far this has evolved in the last month. And actually, I do think that we should take a minute and be like appreciative of for all of us to work together to trim this budget by $9 million. I actually think that that's not nothing. And to sort of like cast it aside, I actually think is a mistake, because it kind of devalues the dialogues that have happened over the last month and how much we have heard, and we have had a dialogue with many of you. It wouldn't have happened without like the real perseverance and the persistence of all of us working together to drive down some of the spending and saying what do we really need to do right now. But I don't think that we can address like everything that we have going in this town solely by cuts, solely by constrained spending. And others may disagree on that, and I understand. But I do think that raising revenue is an important part of this piece. And so then, of course, the question becomes, well, how do we do that? Right? And we've had a lot of dialogue, a lot of discussion about raising the real estate rate versus, you know, other types of taxes. And when I think about that, when I think about why one over the other and how much and how to do this, I do think it matters, right? That we've talked about this before, the 4,000 or whatever number of homeowners that there are in the city, and how we would have to raise the rates so much that it would actually be incongruous, right, of a burden on that particular population. So then it's a matter of thinking about how do we all share the benefits. No matter how we come here, we all share the benefits of Williamsburg, whether you're a tourist, whether you're a student, whether you're a homeowner, however you got here, we all share the benefits. Police and fire, they're gonna show up in Colonial Williamsburg, and I think they do all the time, to help tourists who maybe need some help, right? Wherever. So since we all share the benefits, we all share a little bit of the burden. And that's just the nature of a community. So how do we make sure that that burden doesn't fall too much on any one piece of the community? Well, we try to spread it out and lower it as much as we can in order to achieve what it is we're trying to do. And I actually think, although it's not perfect, right, this budget is an attempt to do that. And I will say there's room for, you know, think, like the Vice Mayor said, there are some things in this, I'd be like, well, I don't really know about that one. I think maybe we could, if it was a party one up here, this probably, I would let that one go. But as echoed before, we all have our disagreements, but I'm not gonna sit here and pound the table and gnash my teeth and be dramatic about it, because honestly, that doesn't serve any purpose. Because what's important now is that we look forward and say, how are we gonna do this? Like, now we have to implement it. And so an example, right, as the Vice Mayor pointed out, is the comp plan. So I was thinking about that, because that is, sorry, they told me to stay close to the microphone. I get excited and I lean back. You know, that with the comp plan, as an example, I'm thinking about, yeah, that's a lot of money that's in the budget for it. Do we really need to do it that way, right? Spreading it over 2 years, do we need a consultant? Do we do it in-house? Like, how does this work? I will say that I did learn that 5 of the last 8 comprehensive plans have either had a consultant or worked with a consultant. So this isn't like a new thing, and I'm like, okay. And then I think, well, you know, maybe that's good. You know, maybe we should do it that way. This remains to be seen. But then I'm also hearing, like, what is important to other members of the community? A whole lot of the things that were talked about during open comment impact the planning department. Things that people want to see happen. That is planning, codes, and compliance department. So wait, if we need to prioritize these other things, that's gonna take time away from the compliance department and the planning department to be able to do the comprehensive plan by themselves. So see how all of this kind of works together. And our job right now, moving forward, is to put the meat on the bones. Maybe we will decide that it's not we don't need to spend that much money, that the RFP like means it's not that much, and we can work this out. But why I'm talking about this point in particular is how it is our job, and it is the job of the staff to see how the wants and the requests from the community to make their life better have a direct impact on the workload of the staff, which then has an impact on what we can and should do in-house versus out of the house and spend that money. So that's all part of the equation. And I really do stand by the staff of the city and how hard they work. And so I would not want anything to be understood otherwise, that they are really the heart of the town. Every single day, what we enjoy, right, in this community is because somebody is making it happen. Like, it doesn't happen by magic, and I salute them for all the work that they do. And I recognize that a lot of our budget is, in fact, people. It's personnel. Another thing that's increased, was the request from the WJCC School Division, and fully support that increase as well. So as we try to balance all the things that are going on that are important to our community, I just appreciate how much we've had this discussion. This is not fun. That, to have to, hear the impacts of the meals tax, and it's not. It would actually be a lot easier just to be like, actually, you know what, can we think of something else? But we have thought about this so much, and so I'm pleased with where we are with the budget today, and I look forward to, as the time goes forward, over the course of the year, to hopefully be able to make adjustments that we can all make us even more pleased with what's happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shelton, I had intended, when I went into this, to introduce the 4 budget items as one conversation. Am I too late to include consideration and action concerning proposed ordinance 2505 and 2502 and 2503?
Not for purposes of discussion.
Okay. So we're talking about everything, including the water and the different taxation. So, because we're going to come back and be asked to vote on the different ordinances. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Ramsey.
That's okay. I hadn't even gotten started, but now that you said that, maybe I need to revise my remarks.
Well,
No,
certainly we can,
no, I'm not
ebb
going
and flow
to.
here.
Because we had a very good discussion on Monday. We talked about a lot of different things, and so I'm not going to get into some of the same things. I will mention a few things that have already been mentioned. And as we discussed on Monday, for me, this has been the most difficult budget session that I've had in the number of years I've been on City Council. And as the Vice Mayor said, we all gave the city manager suggestions of things to cut. We didn't agree on everything, but I feel that we've come to a compromise, and those suggestions were a lot based on public input that we received. And having been on City Council for a number of years, I personally have great respect and admiration for the city team who keeps this city running. We say we're a town, but we are a city. We are one of the Commonwealth's 35 independent cities. We push way above our weight, and we should be very proud of that designation. We may be small in population, we may be small in geographic size, but we are a city that has respect and visitors from all over the world. And it bothers me when people tend to forget that. It also thinks that, we are speaking and making decisions for every resident in Williamsburg. It's unfortunate that 95% of the residents not only can't be here, but do not contact us? Is it because that, 1, they think that things are going really good for them in the city? 2, they are pleased with how the city provides services for them? 3, maybe they are working 3 jobs just to try to make ends meet. Maybe they have to take public transportation, which we had to even cut some of our desire of providing bus shelters out of the budget. So I think when we talk about 4,300 homeowners, we are talking about all 15,000 residents. And many of those 4,300 homeowners our own 4 and 5 different houses, so I don't think that the numbers are exactly 1-to-1. I also am really appreciative of the departments and the staff cuts that they've agreed to accept. People say, I want more police. I want police at the top of my street. I mean, I live right in town. I know what it's like. Well, we did not provide the police request that came through on this budget. Poor Robbie, I said to her after, I guess last month, I said, Robbie, I'm really sorry we're having to cut the bathrooms, the tennis, the walking trail at Waller Mill. And she said, I understand. I know it's a really tough decision this time. But I just want to remind everyone that this is not an easy job. And I am so proud of all of the work that all of our city staff has done. And it bothers me that their work and dedication to this city is questioned. So again, I believe we have come to a good compromise. The discussions won't stop here, but I'm going to stop for right now.
Williams?
Well, I think 3 main themes has come out, excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but out of our discussions since February regarding the budget. The first, the need to construct our spending. The second, thinking about the longevity of our city. And then the third, it's a time to adjust in this time of uncertainty as well, to make the Williamsburg that, us as a community that we would like to see. I would like to thank everyone that has come out the past meetings and shared solutions and suggestions of how we can move forward. Though it's a difficult time for everyone during this next budget cycle, I'm very optimistic that this time next year, us as a community collectively, whether it's business owners, residents, students, and tourists of our community, that we will be in such a stronger place due to us enduring this difficult time now. So I would like to thank our city staff for the endless hours that you all have contributed during this budget process. And again, thank you to everyone out in the audience as well, and the broader community, as Barb had mentioned, that can't come out, that has also contributed ideas and recommendations during this period. So thank you.
Well, so I'd like to, take just another second. All the council members up here really, I think, have communicated a real passion for this community, and I hope you feel that and know that. And this is a tough budget cycle, and so it's probably my 14th, I don't know. And they're all challenging. They've always presented some challenges, and this year with the uncertainty in the global markets, national politics, state politics, I understand that there's a great deal of apprehension about what's happening here locally. But I think, and you all see it every day when you get in your car and you drive down the street or you walk down the sidewalk, the city does a lot to make sure that everybody's safe, well cared for, and is in a city that is a place that we want to call home. And so this is not a bunch of attaboys, but I hope when this budget does get passed, if it does get passed, we'll all leave here and be cordial with one another and respect the process, because it's really in everybody's best interest that we all go through this together. So thank you. So with that, would anybody like to make a motion on proposed resolution 25-07?
So just that one.
Just that one.
So I move that City Council approve Resolution 25-07 as drafted, adopting the budget and local tax levies for the fiscal year 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. McKay, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mayor Pons?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent?
Aye.
Ms. Kernshire?
Aye.
Okay, next is consideration and action concerning proposed ordinance 25-05, amending Chapter 19 of Article 2, Section 19-76 to set a new water rate.
So I move that ordinance 25-05 be approved by City Council to establish new water rates allowing for improvements to and modernization of the water system.
Second?
Thank you. Ms. McKay?
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
Mayor Pons.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Kernscher.
Okay, so the next two ordinances, proposed ordinance 25-02, affecting the transient lodging tax and food preparation tax. Will there be a motion for that?
Yes. So I move that ordinance 25-02 be postponed for adoption until the January 8, 2026 City Council meeting.
Second.
Ms. McKay?
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
Mayor Pons.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Kernscher.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there a motion on consideration and action concerning proposed ordinance 25-03?
So I move that the adoption of ordinance 25-03 be postponed until the January 8, 2026 City Council meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. McKay?
Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
Mayor Pons.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Kernscher.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all. Takes us to new business, and that's consideration of appointments to boards and commission. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Sir. I move that City Council appoint Brent Kaup and Ianla Exo to the Historic Triangle Bicycle Advisory Committee to fill unexpired terms ending December 31, 2027.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. McKay?
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
Mayor Pons.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Kernscher.
Aye.
You clear on the second on that, Ms. McKay?
Yes.
Okay. We don't have any closed session today, so that leads us to item 11. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. McKay?
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
Mayor Pons.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Dent.
Aye.
Ms. Kernscher.
Thank you. We are adjourned.